Welcome into Outkick the show. Unfortunately, an emergency Saturday morning edition of the program. I appreciate all of you. I do not appreciate the NCAA, and I had to break out my Corona Bro YY t-shirt because I hate everyone who is a Corona Bro, and I hate everyone who has allowed them to have any success at all when it comes to the interaction of sports and COVID. This morning, early this morning, around 1:30 in the morning, the NCAA announced that NC State was being forced out of the College World Series due to COVID positive issues. On Friday, they were down to 9 position players and 4 pitchers, 13 total players who were allowed to play against Vanderbilt. Now they were scheduled to play an elimination game at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern in Omaha, Nebraska today. And again, very early this morning, late last night, depending on how exactly you want to contextualize it, the game was canceled and NC State was forced to forfeit. So, what is going on here? Well, at D1 Baseball, they do a fabulous job of covering college baseball. They have reported the details, which have not been released by NC State, but according to at D1 Baseball, there were 2 unvaccinated players who tested positive. And then there were 4 vaccinated players who tested positive. And as a result of these 6 positive COVID tests, NC State, due to contact tracing, is not able to actually field a baseball team now because of COVID-related issues. This is all madness, okay? Let me be straightforward and transparent and clear. There should be no COVID testing that is going on at this point in time for any sport in America, for any kids of any age. We know that every young person and every young and healthy person is not in danger from COVID at this point. If you want to go get vaccinated, that should be your right. If you are like me and you want to go get an antibody test because you believe that you already had COVID and you have had COVID, then you already have antibodies as well. We have reached a level where either through vaccination or through herd immunity, because of all the people like me who have already had COVID and still have antibodies in our blood, the danger, particularly for young people, is virtually zero. Whether it's elementary school age kids, preschool age kids, infants, whether it's middle school, high school, college, all of these players, including professional athletes, have been getting COVID for over a year now, and we have had no serious issues. All of these players that are at the College World Series are under a greater danger traveling to Omaha for the College World Series than they are from the actual COVID itself. Moreover, the entire stadium in Omaha is packed. No one is wearing masks. We know that these players and their families could go sit in the crowd right now not wearing masks at all. I feel awful for NC State. I feel awful for Wolfpack fans out there. This is a nonsensical result that makes zero logical or scientific facts, right? There's no basis for it whatsoever, all right? Larger context. We have allowed the Corona Bros in my industry, that is the sports media, to terrorize people to such an extent that we are now stripping away the chance of a lifetime for NC State Wolfpack players, fans, coaches, to potentially go win the College World Series, and they haven't done anything wrong at all. We don't even know for the unvaccinated players whether they might have already had antibodies. They aren't required at NC State to go get a vaccine right now in order to be enrolled, so they can make the choice, those players can, and their families, whether or not it makes sense for them to go get this vaccine. But the 4 players that did get the vaccine, what sense does it make for players to get the vaccine and then also have to sit out? What incentive are we giving anyone to get the vaccine if you can still test positive, as you can? Ask Chris Paul. All the New York Yankees earlier this season, as well as Bill Maher, among others, have had the COVID vaccine and then later tested positive for COVID. What are we doing when we are testing vaccinated players or vaccinated individuals and requiring them to sit out the same way and also contact tracing them the same way that we would if they had never been vaccinated in the first place? Here's what needs to happen. Okay, I'm sorry that I have to make a policy for the NCAA ignoramuses who are unable to come up with a policy. If you are vaccinated, you never get tested for COVID again for the rest of your life. If you test and you have COVID antibodies, you should never get tested for COVID again for the rest of your life. Both of those groups should immediately be taken out of the COVID protocol forever, okay? If you have ever had it and now have natural immunity and have antibodies in your blood that you can prove, or if you have been vaccinated, there should never be another COVID test of you for the rest of your life as an athlete. Pro, college, high school, whatever level it is, period. That should be the policy. In general, we should not be testing for COVID ever because we don't test for the flu, and the flu is far more dangerous to your average young person than COVID is. And I've never had a flu test in my life. I bet none of you have ever had a flu test in your life. In fact, some of you have probably gone to work and continued to play sports even while you were sick. We don't know what caused the Jordan flu game, but one of the most iconic moments in Michael Jordan's history was playing through the flu. We didn't tell him he was endangering everyone. We praised him for his toughness. 25 years later, evidently, he is a super spreader. This is nonsensical. Again, I am imploring all reasonable people out there, players, coaches, NCAA administrators, college officials, everyone who has a voice in this situation going forward. This should be the last forfeited event that ever occurs for COVID. There probably should have never been any events forfeited for COVID. But back in March of last year, when we had no idea necessarily what to expect going forward, that could make sense. By June of 2021, it's beyond nonsensical. The testing needs to stop, certainly of vaccinated players, but I think, frankly, of all players, because we know they aren't at risk. When you have 100% full stadiums that you are allowing fans to attend without wearing masks and without testing any of them, which is appropriate, how in the world can you have a different standard for the athletes on the field who are in far better physical condition than the average fan is in the actual stadium? Again, this is nonsensical. We have to stop letting the losers in my industry, in the sports media, the Corona bro losers, dictate what is happening when it comes to actual sports. Players, coaches, league officials, administrators, intelligent people who can actually look at the data and apply scientific knowledge can tell you that none of these players are at remote risk. We're going to have full stadiums. We're going to have full capacity. We no longer need to be testing for COVID. I feel bad for NC State. The Wolfpack got screwed. My condolences to you. I am a double Vanderbilt alum. I love Tim Corbin. I love everything that he's done with the Vanderbilt baseball team. But nobody at Vanderbilt wanted to win this way. Not even that heinous guy, the Whistler, who was driving everybody crazy for years and years. Nobody wanted to win this way. It does not make sense to continue to apply the rules of COVID for any other sporting event. We got to end this. We can't have any more forfeits. We can't have any more players having to sit out. This needs to end, and it needs to end now. Reasonable and intelligent people need to follow the science. Again, one more time, condolences to NC State. We got to kill the Corona bros once and for all and their ability to make arguments about stupid and non-scientific policies as it pertains to college, high school, pro sports at all level, everywhere. And by the way, also our schools. I'm going to be fired up about this and continue to be fired up about it on my daily radio show with Buck Sexton. You can listen to me. It's the biggest radio show in the country. And obviously, you can continue to watch this show as I tell you exactly what I think every single day on Outkick the show. If you love Outkick, go sign up for our VIP, outkick.com/VIP. You get an autographed copy of my most recent book, as well as access to all the behind-the-wall paywall attributes, including a one-on-one conversation with me for all the VIPs tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern. I appreciate all of you. I'm fired up about the stupidity of this decision. I appreciate all of your support for Outkick. And one more time, condolences for NC State. It's not only, by the way, hurting NC State. Vanderbilt gets to rest all their pitchers. Meanwhile, Mississippi State and Texas have to play today. When they play in the College World Series on Monday, Vanderbilt will have basically a fully rested roster. They will be able to trot out Jack Leiter, who's one of the best pitchers, and then theoretically, the next day they would be able to trot out Kumar Rocker, or the day after that. Kumar Rocker has never lost in the postseason. Vanderbilt has two of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and they are going to eventually be 100% healthy and ready to roll in a three-game series in the event that it goes that long against Texas or Mississippi State. Love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. This has been a special emergency reaction to Outkick the show. Hope your Saturdays go fantastic. Thank you for hanging with us.